this is Leila here from the Comic Connection with this week's extended comic book reviews. First up, we've got Superman World of New Krypton #1, written by James Robinson and Greg Rucka, with art by Pete Woods. In this story, Kal-El decides to make a life for himself on New Krypton, leaving his life on Earth behind. But how will he fit in with Zod and the rest of the members of the Kryptonian family? I really love this story. It's really cool to explore what Superman's life is going to be like now that he's not really so super compared to everybody else. The art was pretty good, and though I wanted a little bit more detail on the backgrounds, especially in New Krypton, because you're sort of just describing this whole new world, so I wanted a little bit more detail. But other than that, it was a really good book overall. Next up, we've got Strange Adventures #1 of 8, written by Jim Starlin with art by Manuel Garcia. In this book, Adam Strange and Alana return to Old Rand to salvage much-needed technology to ensure that Rand's advanced technology doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Meanwhile, Adam's possible criminal trial keeps rolling forward. At the same time, on Hardcore Station, Comet has a business deal go awry, and then there's like a backup story that's called A Minor Incident by Starlin and Rob Hunter, and where Deacon Dark tries to summon Hawkman, but retrieves Bizarro instead. This is a pretty good book. I like the Rand stuff the best. The Bizarro stuff was only okay for me. So overall, Strange Adventures is an interesting book to read because it's sort of a compilation of different kind of things going on at the same time. It was okay for me, but you know, if you're not a big fan of some of these characters, then it probably won't be for you. Next up, we've got Solomon Grundy #1 of 7, written by Scott Collins, also the art by the same. And in this book, we witness the rebirth of Cyrus as Solomon Grundy after making a deal with Demon Etrigan. Green Lantern explains that he can regain his soul if he finds the instrument of his death before the approaching Blackest Night. So, a good plan if it would only go smoothly, which of course it doesn't. I really like this story. Both the art and the writing were really well done. I'm not sure how it's going to tie into the whole Green Lantern series, like the Blackest Night thing. Since they mention it, I'm assuming that it will. But overall, for a #1, this was a really solid read. Next up, we've got Black Panther 2, #2, written by Reginald Hoodland and art by Ken Lashley. In this one, Chala's condition worsens and the search for a new Black Panther becomes desperate, so Aurora recommends that Shuri should be sent to be judged by the Panther gods. But can Chala's sister really pass the test? And then we finally see how Black Panther was put in his coma in the first place. This was another great issue by Reginald and Ken. The fight between Black Panther and his guards and Doom and his Doom bots is just awesome. I can't wait to see where this series is going. Definitely pick up Black Panther. Next up, we've got sort of a special one for you guys. This is called Blueberry Girl, and it's by Neil Gaiman and Charles Vess. It's sort of a children's book written by Neil for a friend of his while she was pregnant, before she was about to give birth to a little girl. So it's sort of written for a mother and her little girl. This is the perfect person to sort of buy it for. It's sort of like just a fluffy children's book kind of thing, but I really enjoyed it. It's beautifully illustrated and written, so if you're a fan of the artist and the writer teaming up again, you certainly won't be disappointed. Pick it up. Next up, we've got Gotham Gazette, Batman Dead. This is the beginning of the whole battle for the cowl thing. It's written by Fabian Nizeka, and there's various artists on it because there's 5 little vignettes in there that are explaining the effect of Batman's disappearance on different people in Gotham. We'll save our review for it after, because we've got Batman Battle for the Cowl #1 as well, written by and art by Tony Daniel. And here, Black Mask returns to stage a prison break for Gotham's most feared villains, while Gotham's heroes try to fill in the void left by Batman and try and find out who's been masquerading as the Caped Crusader. So, Gotham's Gazette was okay. The 5-part vignettes do sort of give you a jump-on point for Battle for the Cowl. The art is good in some of the parts and not in others. The Vicky Vale story was really interesting to me. Not a bad start off to the series. But this book, Battle for the Cowl #1, is awesome. Tony Daniel did a really great job, and I can't wait to see where this is going to go. Are we going to be surprised by having a Batman other than Nightwing? I don't know, but it's definitely a worthwhile read. Next up, we've got G.I. Joe movie prequel Duke #1. This is written by Chuck Dixon with art by S.L. Glenn. This issue follows Sergeant Hauser through a dangerous mission and then all the way up to the offer for him to join a special forces group of super soldiers. This is sort of a good backup story for the movie. For you guys not in the know about G.I. Joe, this is sort of an interesting read to understand why a character may behave the way he does. It's a pretty strong story by Dixon, though I didn't really care for the art much, but it does make me pretty excited for the upcoming G.I. Joe movie. And so if you're a G.I. Joe fan, this is probably a must. Next up, we've got Super Zombies #1. This is written by Mark Guggenheim and Vince Gonzalez. The art's by Mel Ruby. In this one, a vaccine created to save people ultimately causes mutation, and then these superheroes, you know, they sort of come down with the whole zombie thing. So we've got zombie superheroes. I really liked this book. I mean, it's obvious that the concept is a little redone, but it might be interesting to see how superhero zombies or supervillain zombies might play out. So if you're a fan of the whole villain or the zombie genre, you'll probably really enjoy this one. Pick it up. And last, we've got Angel Blood in Trenches #1, written by and art by John Byrne. In this issue, Angel's on the trail of another vampire who likes to kill people and leave a special calling card, much like he used to do when he was Angelus. All the while, he's trying to fight and save lives amongst the backdrop of World War II. This is a pretty decent story. I have Angel Fang and I really like it, but the black and white art, I don't know about the decision to do that. It was only okay for me. But if you like Angel, it's sort of a necessary read. I'm not sure how much part of the canon it's going to be in the long run, but overall, not a bad book.
Hey folks, Jim here with this week's comic reviews. Now, we were off last week because I had a really bad flu, so I'm going to get into it because I had a little bit of free time, so I read some really long books. Let's get into it with Transformers All Hail Megatron #8, written by Shane McCarthy, with art by Guido Guidi. In this one, the traitor is revealed and his reasons are given. But before the whole story can be revealed, he sacrifices himself to the Swarm. Another fantastic Transformers book by Shane and Guido. If you're not reading this book, you're not a real Transformers fan. That's really all I can say about this. The art is fantastic, the story is great, and the way it's going, I just can't imagine how it's all going to end. Next up, Pixie, Volume 1 by Matthew Marial and art by Aurora. In this one, Prince Al dreams of thrilling adventures, but when he gets kidnapped by the petty thief Pixie, he's in for an adventure he could never dream up. Another simply fantastic book by Tokyo Pop, full color, gorgeous art, great story. I really enjoyed this book a lot. If you want to try something a little different, try this book out. It's not half bad. And last, but certainly not least, a send-in from Kitty Press. Thanks, Kitty. It's Maka-Maka, Volume 1, written and drawn by Kishi Torigino. In this one, you meet Jun and Nene, a couple of co-workers that work really well together. Follow them as they love and live through good and bad and the cuddle time in between. Yes, this is a Yuri book, which, for those that don't know, a woman-on-woman sex story. It's not bad, beautiful art, great story. I actually really felt for the characters, and that it's in full color is another great aspect to it. If you want to try something really different and you're an adult, this is a really good read.